Okay, so I've got my reference planes set up in these duplicate floor plan views that I've created, which contain the images that have been scaled to make them the real world size. So in other words, we can take measurements off these and they should be in millimetres with the correct sizes. And so then you can see that I've got the reference planes following the main wall from the ground floor, and I'm going to be focusing on that area. But I also want to bring in some of the walls for this back section, even though a lot of that will probably be changing. And so I'm going to, before I draw in my walls, copy some of these reference planes. So here, as I copy them, I'm zooming in so that I can see the measurements, and I'm trying to get round numbers there. You can see it's going to 1240 and 1260 when it snaps. I want to go in between that, so I'm going to type in 1250, again just to make sure it's a round number. And then I'll do the same with the reference plane at the top. And then again, well, you can see there it's snapping to 3200. That's actually not too bad, but I'm probably going to adjust this one anyway. So you can see that we've got a dimension there, an overall measurement of 19,000. So I'm going to nominate this reference plane there as being correct, and then I'm going to dimension from there to the new one that I've just added. Let's place that dimension to one side, and you can see then the dimension that I've ended up with is not a round number at all. So I'm going to come back and select that reference plane at the top, and then type in that measurement, 19,000. And we can see that it's quite a way off. So that gives you an indication how far off the floor plan probably is. Remember, we scaled it correctly using these horizontal measurements, but now this vertical measurement is off. So again, that's going to happen. So we don't have a dimension there for the existing building, or for the wall that's coming from the original part of the building at the front. So I'm simply going to draw a dimension in between these reference planes now, place that to the side, and then again check that measurement, and I can see there it's 13,868. So I might again round that off. And so you just need to think about the way you are making your adjustments. So here I'm going to select this reference plane because that's the one that I want to move. And then I can change that dimension to make it a round number. So again, 13,850. It's close enough to what it was. And then you can see now that the dimension between the reference plane that's selected and the new reference plane I added earlier is now, again, a nice round number, 3,900. So it's a good idea to just go through your references and just check that you have the dimensions between them as workable figures as much as you can. So here again, by selecting this reference plane, you can see it is 4473, and I'm going to round that off to 44750. And that's going to help a lot when we go to draw in the walls. So now I might just copy again this vertical reference plane. Using the copy tool, I'll again just bring that across by eye to begin with to line up with that main wall. And then you can see there the dimension that it's given me, 21,900, is it's actually not too bad, but I can easily change that to 22,000, which again is an easier number to work with. And, well, it doesn't line up exactly with this wall.
Where are you getting all those measurements from?
Well, I'm just working them out as I draw. So,
Okay.
yeah. So we're never going to know the real sizes, and it doesn't really need to be that precise, as long as it looks basically right. And then again, we've got some workable measurements as well. because later we probably will need to type in some dimensions. So then going through and checking these other drawings, you can see things maybe won't line up all that well now, but as long as we know that and we're aware, we can work around it. Again, with hand drawings, you just need to make allowances for those things. So now I'm going to go in and start drawing and setting out my main walls. And again, focusing on the original existing part of the building. Oh, yeah, sure, I'll have a look at those. Yeah, you probably don't need to do it as I go. Once you see how I'm doing it, it's fairly easy. So all I'm going to do here is just draw in some of the walls at the front, and then I'll come back later and do a separate video, maybe showing the floors and adding in the additional walls. So before I draw a wall, I just want to check the sizes again. So rather than doing it as I draw, this time I'm going to use the tape measure tool, and then just clicking a point on the drawing. You can see there the measurement, 380 is what it's giving me, but we can probably again round that off to 350, and that'll work fairly well. Did anyone get a measurement for the walls when they were out there? I don't blame you if you didn't. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about being too precise there, as long as you've got a rough measurement. So again, we'll just go with the 350. I think that's fine. So again, here I'm just going to use the wall tool, and then start with one of the generic walls. So if you aren't sure of the wall construction, or it's an existing wall, simplest is usually best. So we can probably assume that it is a double brick wall, or, well, maybe it could even be stone, but no, that's brickwork. Okay, so you can see here it definitely would be a brick building, and from the era, almost definitely, yeah, cavity brickwork, yep. So, so that's what it is, and you've got the, again, double brick wall type there, but again, because it's existing, you're better off using something like a generic wall type, and sticking just with the one component rather than trying to put in all the different layers. And we'll go over that later, the reasons for that. But again, for now, just stick with a simple wall type. But I'm going to change it by going to Edit Type, and then I'll click Duplicate.
So in Revit, when you are building a new wall,
Yep. So yep, when you're building a wall. Yep.
then you use not that one, but
Yeah, that's right.
double one, double brick.
Yeah, when you're building a new wall, you should think more about the materials, and that's right. Generally, try to put those in. But again, if you're not doing construction drawings, even with new walls, it can be a good idea sometimes just to keep them simple until you need to put those, show those extra components, and then you can easily come back to the wall type here and add in those elements later, further down the track. Yeah. So, so here you can see again, starting with that generic 300mm wall type. And you can do this at any stage, even if you haven't got all the reference planes set up, you can definitely make your own existing wall type, which is what I'm doing now. So I'm going to click Duplicate there, and I'll call this existing 350mm wall. Click OK. And I'm going to click Edit then, next to Structure. And I'm simply going to change the thickness there to 350. Not going to do anything else in here. I'm going to leave the material on Finish, which will stay as for quite a while. And then the only other change I'm going to make is to change the coarse scale fill colour from grey, which you can see there, to black. And that's a good option because it means we can easily have the existing walls shown black, which they should be, in the floor plan especially, and then the new walls can be coloured. So I'll click OK, and then before I draw my wall, you can also have a look at the height. So up here you can see on the options bar I can easily choose a level for the height, and a good option often is to choose the roof level for the height of your exterior walls especially. And then I'm also going to change the location line there to finish face exterior because I've got reference planes that sit on the exterior face of my walls. Oh, if you haven't got the levels, don't worry, just leave it on any option. Unconnected would be fine, and you can attach them to levels later. So, yeah, if you don't have all the levels, doesn't really matter, you can choose any level and then later on just go back and change the level in properties. So now, again, the main thing is I've got the location line on finished face exterior, and I'm just going to draw a couple of walls in, come back and do the rest later. So I'll start on this intersection that I've got here, and coming over clockwise. So the key here is that if I go down, that would be drawing anti-clockwise, and you can see that the wall there is going outside the building. Because again, I'm using finished face exterior, and that's the default. It would make it like a courtyard if you want to think about the different options, but the general rule of thumb there is to draw clockwise, so that will be going to the right there instead of going down, and you can see then the wall goes below the reference plane, again with this finished face exterior option, and I'm going to simply come across to the intersection there, and then you can see that if I come down, the wall's actually going to the wrong side now. Now, do you think that is wrong? Yeah, if I could come across to here and then come down. The problem then, though, is that the exterior face would be on the right-hand side, which is probably not right either, because when we'll have to check, but I'd say most likely that this side, when the building comes up, needs to be the outside of the wall because of this section here. So I need to keep the exterior face following my reference plane. And so the trick here is to press space. While you're drawing, you can flip as you draw. And it's always good to think about that, because there'll be situations where you need the exterior face to be one side or the other. So you need to draw along a particular edge. But again, change the direction as you draw, or change the location, or sorry, the justification. So again, now I can come down to this intersection. Coming across to the left now, you can see the wall is going to the wrong side, but I'm drawing along the exterior face, which is what I want. So again, space to flip. And now I can come back, and so you can see here we obviously have these shop fronts which are recessed into the building, but I'm going to ignore those for the time being and just take my line of the wall all the way through back to the beginning, and then we're going to cut those openings away later. As you can see here, the wall continues above those openings, so we need to draw that main wall in first and then later come back and grab those openings and the piers and everything else. Okay, so you can essentially repeat the process for the other walls in the existing building. It might help to draw some reference planes in for this section even as well. And then for the new part, you'll probably need a different wall type. So let's just measure that off the drawings again. So what are these two? Well, it says 240. I'm going to try and make it 250. That's most likely the real size. And I'm not sure how much of this you need to keep.
We can keep the exterior walls, but the inside
Yep.
we can't change.
You can change the interior. Yeah. So so I'll keep the exterior. I'll just do some of that exterior now as well, maybe just quickly. So I'll again go and make or use the wall tool, and then I'll make a new wall type, same as before. Edit type, duplicate, and again you can make these wall types before you need to draw any of those walls. Yep, exactly. Yep. And then I'll again just change the thickness here in the structure to 250. Everything else is done. So I'll click OK there. And again, thinking about the way I need to draw this wall, I'm going to start on this intersection here because I know that should be the exterior edge. Now, I'm not sure exactly how these walls... No, sorry. So I won't do that actually, because now I think about it, this is a good example of how you can use that location line in different ways. So I'm actually going to change this option for the location line to finish face interior, because I want the interior edge of the walls here to line up.
Okay.
So if I draw with finish face interior and then come up, that's got the wall going onto the right side of my drag line. That's good. And I'll come up to, again here now, we need to make a decision about which line we're going to use. And so I'm going to use the reference plane, since that has the measurement that I've typed in. So I'm ignoring the floor plan here for this part. I'm just going to bring this wall right up. Now when I come across, that's not going to work properly anymore, because I'm drawing with the interior face of the wall. So the only option really that I've got there is to cancel. Then I can change the finish face, or the option there for location line, to finish face exterior, and then pick it up again from the corner of that previous wall, coming across now, and I'm drawing now with the exterior face. So you need to decide how to use your location line options. And now if I come down, I can just again continue tracing back to, well, we don't really know where this wall is going to finish until we draw these other walls. That's right, yeah, so you'd have this part here as well. So I'll just finish it roughly for now. In fact, it probably finishes closer to here. So I'll just finish that very roughly. And then once these other walls have been drawn in, we can adjust the end of that wall. Right, so again, to do the wall here at the bottom, might be an idea to put a reference plane in to establish that dimension, if it's important to you. But then for a lot of these interior walls, you maybe don't need to put in so many reference planes, and you can just try tracing them off the floor plan. But you probably should try and put in most of the ground floor walls before moving on to the upper levels, because you'll see a lot of the walls should carry through those levels, particularly the exterior walls. So going up to the final drawing there, we can see that, again, a lot of these walls will carry through into that level. And then only some of the walls will be on only one of these levels. So yeah, I'll come back and go through that, and then we can have a look at putting some floors in as well. So again, the process should be focusing on the ground floor first. So once we've got all the exterior walls done there, we can have a look at doing the ground floor and working out the level change, particularly the level change at the back there.